It's time for a new wrap-up video. This month I've been really excited. I actually got to read almost, not quite, but almost as many books in 1 month that I read in the first 6 months of this year. I know that sounds really crazy, but no, that does not mean I've been reading like crazy amounts of books this month. Unfortunately, it means that the first 6 months of this year, I really didn't have much time to read, so yeah, I could easily catch up to that in 1 month. But it feels great. It feels like I did so much reading, although it's just a normal amount of reading, I guess. But still, I have a lot of books to show you guys, so without further ado, let's get started. So this first book, I know, how come I'm only reading it now? The first book is City of Bones by Cassandra Clare, which is the first book in the Mortal Instruments series. I just had to read it. It's probably been sitting on my shelf for like a year or two now, and I don't know why I never actually got around to reading it. It's probably because I had such high expectations of it before that I was scared to be disappointed by it. So before reading it, I sort of forgot what it was about, so I'm like, okay, it's time to read it and not look up what the storyline is so that, I couldn't be disappointed or anything. I was like, so that I couldn't be influenced in any way. So I just went into it blindly, if you will, and yeah, and I really enjoyed it. It was worth the read. I really loved the world that was created. I loved that there were all these demons and things, and just read it. But yeah, so I'm really curious to see what the movie will end up like, because I know that the trailer made it look very different. Like, the casting already was not exactly who I imagined. And yeah, the storyline seems a little different. So we'll see what it gives. The second book I read this month is The Dust of 100 Dogs by A.S. King, and it was fun. I didn't know what to expect from this book either, to be honest, and I actually kind of liked the idea, but I didn't get how the whole living 100 lives as dogs really fit into this story, but I really liked how the characters, like, some of the characters reincarnated and stuff, so that was really fun. I love how there were multiple stories into one book. I really liked that. The next book is Destiny and Deception by Shannon Delany, and this is the fourth book in the 13 to Life series, so there's one more after this. I can totally tell this was meant to be a trilogy to begin with, and that got expanded to being a 5-book series, and honestly, I really loved the first 3 books, but I didn't love this one. I liked it, but I didn't love it. But we'll see how it plays out in the last book. I mean, I will read it because I want to see if Peter is gonna be the Peter we knew in the first 3 books, or if he's gonna be how he is now. And I want to, of course, see how things end up with the other characters, but yeah, fingers crossed. The next book I read is Laguna Cove by Alison Noel, and no, it's not this whole book. This is 2 books in one, and I only read one of them, and it's very summary. It's a fun beach read. It seems so short with so many characters, stories. It didn't feel like it was really a finished product. It felt like a fragment. It was still fun though. If you want something light and fun to read on the beach, this is good. The next book has appeared already in 2 videos, so it's already getting a lot of YouTube screen time for a book that I've only just read. It's The False Prince by Jennifer A. Nielsen, and I absolutely love this book. I was never sure if what it was about either. A lot of books I don't know what they're about, but anyway, I ended up really loving this book. It was all very well tied up in the end. The characters were well developed, multiple layers to every character. I really enjoyed this. And it's a trilogy, so this is the first book. And I really want to order the next one, but I have so many books to read, so many books I want to buy, and I can't keep up anymore. So basically the story is that this boy is picked up from an orphanage, and along with 4 other boys, and basically they're going to compete to be part of a scheme, and the title kind of, says what it's going to be. But yeah, I don't want to give anything away, so that's as far as I'm gonna go, because this is a really amazing read. Honestly, read it. It's not... Just read it. I'm not gonna say anything because I'm too scared to give anything away that might ruin the story, because it's so good. The next two books are actually middle grade reads, so they're meant for younger audiences. I don't think I've actually read any middle grade books since I started making videos. And the first one is The Land of Stories, The Wishing Spell by Chris Colfer. This is the first book in a series. I don't know how many there will be. I think the second one was released not too long ago. And this was actually a really fun read. There's a twist to the fairy tales. It's basically the fairy tales continued. These two kids end up in this fairy tale world, and they have to find a way to get back home. So it's kind of their whole journey as they travel through the fairy tale lands, and they discover what happens to the characters, you know, after the stories as we know them. And what I really liked about this is that Chris Colfer doesn't use, you know, the Disney tales necessarily, but he uses the classic original fairy tales. So, you know, not everyone knows what the real Little Mermaid story ends like. Everyone thinks she just ends up happily ever after, married to the prince, as in Disney. But unfortunately, Disney just gave her a happy ending when initially she didn't really have one. So yeah, if you're curious about what the fairy tales initially were like and how in the end he twisted them a little, it's definitely worth a read, especially if you're a Glee fan. Anyone? The second middle grade book I read, and also the last book I read in July, is Arthur, High King of Britain by Michael Morpurgo. Already since I started learning English, Michael Morpurgo was like there throughout my learning of the language. I remember one of the first books I read was The Dancing Bear with audio cassette, not a CD, audio cassette, and I really loved every story, every book I read by him, like honestly. Well, yeah, so I've been obsessed with Merlin and the Arthurian legends for a while, and I've been wanting to read Le Morte d'Arthur by Sir Thomas Malory, but I don't know if you've seen the book. It's 500 pages, it's two parts of 500 pages each, and they're written in Old English, and the spelling is not exactly the same as today's English already. And I didn't know much about the Arthurian tales to begin with, so I'm like, maybe it'll be too hard. Like, I already own the books, but I didn't want to dive into them without any knowledge of the Arthurian legends besides the Merlin series. So this was a great introduction, seriously. Michael Morpurgo covers all the main legends and simplifies them. It's told in a very fun way. I really, really loved it. And as a side note, for both these middle grade books, The Wishing Spell and Arthur, High King of Britain, I found reviews that said, yeah, the writing wasn't so great, I didn't know why he added this or that into the story. Well, people need to keep in mind that these books were meant for younger audiences, and sure, they can read them, but they have to keep in mind who the target audience was. And I find that a little sad that people forget that sometimes. I mean, everyone to their own opinion, of course, but, you know, it's part of the whole adult, new adult, young adult, middle grade, children's literature. It's all for different, it was meant for different audiences. Everyone can read them, but yeah. I think that's all for today's video. I mean, I'm really happy with all the reading I've done. I mean, I haven't done this much reading in such a this period of time in a while. It feels really nice. But yeah, so that's it. My usual links are down below, blog, Twitter, Goodreads, all that. I also started vlogging recently, so you can find the link for that there as well. But I'm still getting used to vlogging, so if there's a little awkwardness, don't even, just ignore that. Okay, so anyway, that's it for today's video, and I will be seeing you in my book haul, which will be uploaded after this. So, bye!